Here is the thing nobody in the personal finance space will say out loud. The advice you were given about money, save more, spend less, be patient, that advice was not designed to make you wealthy. It was designed to make you manageable. Manageable to banks, manageable to employers, manageable to a system that runs on the predictable financial passivity of millions of people who were taught that waiting is the responsible thing to do. You are waiting right now. Maybe you don't call it waiting. You call it researching. You call it getting your finances together first. You call it not being ready yet. But underneath every version of that story is the same thing. A decision that has not been made, quietly costing you money every single day it stays unmade. And here's the uncomfortable truth this video exists to deliver. The financial window that separates someone who builds wealth from someone who spends their life working for it, that window is not about income. It is not about how much you know. It is about when you started. And the data on this is not motivational, it is brutal. Every year you delay beginning to invest is not just a year of missed returns. It is a year of compounding that will never exist. You cannot go back and buy that time. No raise, no inheritance, no side hustle will ever fully replace the compounding you lost by waiting until you felt ready. Feeling ready is a trap. It is the most expensive trap the middle class walks into voluntarily. This video is not going to tell you to believe in yourself. It is going to show you exactly how the investment machine works, why the financial industry profits from your confusion, and the precise tactical steps a complete beginner takes to enter the market with a strategy that the majority of professional fund managers cannot consistently beat. Not because you are a genius, because the strategy is built into the market itself. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you in the middle of this video, the concept of structural returns, is the thing your bank does not want you to understand. Not yet. For new viewers, my name is Steve, and if you are new here, subscribe right now and drop a comment below. Tell me where you are in your financial life right now. Whether you have never touched an investment account, or you opened one and closed it, or you have been about to start for 2 years. I read every single comment, and your answer to that question will tell me exactly what video to make next. Now, let's start with the myth. The myth is that investing is for people who have already figured out the basics. Pay off debt first, build a 6-month emergency fund, get stable, then invest. That sequence sounds responsible. It is taught in schools, repeated by well-meaning relatives, and endorsed by a financial advice industry that earns fees on complexity. But that sequence has a hidden cost that nobody calculates. Every month you spend getting ready to invest is a month the market is running without you. The S&P 500, the index that tracks the 500 largest American companies, has returned an average of roughly 10% annually over the last century. Adjusted for inflation, closer to 7%. That number is not a guarantee, but it is the most historically reliable return available to an ordinary person with no special knowledge, no industry connections, and no minimum balance requirement beyond what a fractional share costs today. 7% annually means that money doubles approximately every 10 years. If you have money sitting in a savings account earning 0.4%, you are not being conservative. You are losing ground. Inflation, the quiet tax on every dollar you hold still, runs between 3 and 4% in a normal economic environment. Your savings account is not protecting your money. It is slowly depleting it while making your bank richer. The bank takes your deposit, loans it out at 6, 8, 12% interest, and hands you back 0.4. That is not a savings product. That is a wealth transfer dressed up as a favor. This is the first uncomfortable truth. Doing nothing is not safe. It has a cost. That cost is invisible on your bank statement. It does not arrive as a bill, but it is real, and it compounds in reverse, and it grows every month you leave it unaddressed. So, let's talk about what investing actually is. Not the version the industry sells, but the mechanical reality. When you invest in an index fund, you are not gambling on a single company. You are buying a fractional ownership stake in hundreds or thousands of companies simultaneously. When one fails, the others absorb it. When the economy grows, your slice of it grows with it. You are not trying to pick winners. You are buying the game itself. This is not a new idea. It is not a secret. John Bogle built Vanguard on this principle in 1975 and was openly mocked by Wall Street for it because Wall Street profits from complexity, from active fund managers who charge 1 to 2% annually to underperform the index they are competing against, from brokerage products wrapped in language designed to require a specialist, from your confusion sustained indefinitely. The index fund is the financial industry's least profitable product for the industry and most profitable for you, which is why it is rarely the first thing they recommend. Now, here is where it gets tactical.
You are a beginner. You have no position. You are starting from zero. What do you actually do? Step 1 is not picking stocks. Step 1 is building the container before you put anything in it. The container matters more than most beginners understand. In most countries, you have access to a tax-advantage investment account. In the United States, that is a Roth IRA. In the United Kingdom, a stocks and shares ISA. In Nigeria, a pension RSA or a regulated brokerage account tied to the NGX. The specific name differs by country. The principle is identical. A wrapper around your investments that legally reduces or eliminates the tax the government takes on your returns. Let me be specific about why this matters. If you invest outside a tax advantage account and earn 7% annually, a portion of those gains is taxed each year, depending on your bracket. Over 30 years, that tax drag compounds against you the same way returns compound for you. The difference between investing inside and outside a tax-efficient account over a long enough timeline can equal years of additional working life. This is not a technicality. It is a structural decision that beginners skip because nobody explained it clearly on day one. Open the right container first, then fund it. Step 2 is choosing what goes inside. For a beginner, the answer is not complicated, and that simplicity is not a limitation. It is the strategy. A low-cost index fund tracking a broad market, the total U.S. market, the global market, or a combination of both, is the instrument. You are looking for an expense ratio below 0.2%. Vanguard, Fidelity, and Schwab all offer options in this range. The expense ratio is the annual fee the fund charges to manage itself. The difference between a 0.05% expense ratio and a 1.2% expense ratio sounds trivial. Over 30 years of compounding, it represents tens of thousands of dollars that either stays in your account or disappears into the fund manager's revenue. This is the concept I told you I would return to: structural returns. Structural returns are the gains that belong to you not because of skill or timing, but because of the architecture of the vehicle you chose. An index fund with a low expense ratio, held inside a tax-advantaged account, invested in a consistent monthly schedule. That combination produces structural returns, returns that are built into the mechanism. You do not have to be right about which sector will outperform. You do not have to predict rate decisions. You do not have to watch the market daily. The structure works because it is designed to capture the broad growth of the economy over time, and the broad economy has grown in every 20-year window in modern history without exception. The wealthy do not beat the market through intelligence. They beat the average person by accessing better structures earlier, better tax vehicles, better compounding timelines, better fee arrangements. Your job as a beginner is to replicate the structure, not the complexity. Step 3 is the one that ends most beginners before they begin: consistency. Not consistency when the market is up. Consistency when the market drops 18% and every financial headline is written to maximize your panic. This is the test. Not a metaphorical test, a literal, recurring, financially consequential test that the market administers on a schedule no one controls. Here's what happens during a market drop that most people get backwards. When the market falls, the price of every share in your index fund falls. That means the same monthly contribution that bought you 10 units last month now buys you 13. You are acquiring more ownership at a lower price. If you stop contributing, or worse, sell, you lock in the loss and miss the acquisition window. If you continue on schedule, you are doing mechanically what every sophisticated investor describes in theory, but few retail investors execute in practice. Buying the dip, automatically, without emotion, without analysis, without a special strategy. The market has recovered from every significant correction in history, not because of sentiment, because the companies inside the index fund continued to produce goods, services, revenue, and earnings, and eventually the price reflected that. The recovery is not guaranteed on any specific timeline, but across the documented history of broad market indices, the pattern of decline and recovery is the most consistent pattern in finance. Your job during a correction is to do nothing dramatic. Keep the automatic transfer running. Keep the structure intact. The discipline to do nothing during chaos is not passive. It is the most active financial decision available to you in that moment. Now, let's address the question that's sitting in the back of every beginner's mind watching this. What if I start and lose everything? Let's be exact about what that actually means. A total permanent loss in a broad market index fund would require every major economy on Earth to simultaneously and permanently collapse. Every government, every central bank, every corporation, every supply chain, all of it at once, with no recovery. If that happens, the money in your investment account is not your primary concern. Society itself has broken down. In that scenario, no asset class protects, not gold, not real estate, not cash, nothing. The realistic risk for a beginner is not permanent loss. It is temporary volatility that they interpret as permanent loss and respond to by selling. That's the actual risk, the emotional response to market movement, not the movement itself. This is why the container, the instrument, and the consistency are the whole strategy. They remove the decisions that beginners make badly. You are not deciding when to buy. You are buying on schedule. You are not deciding when to sell. You are not selling. You are not deciding which company will win. You own all of them. The strategy removes you from the equation at the points where you are most likely to be wrong.
Now, here is the part of this video where most personal finance creators wrap up with inspiration. I am going to do something different. I want you to sit with a specific number for a moment. If you are 27 years old right now, you have approximately 38 years before a standard retirement age. If you put away a modest amount consistently every month, starting now, and earn the historical average return of the broad market, the compounding over that timeline builds something that looks from the outside like a different financial life entirely. Not because the amount was exceptional, because the timeline was long enough for the mathematics to do what mathematics does when you do not interrupt it. If you wait 5 years to start, 5 years of getting ready, of needing to learn more, of waiting until things settle down, you do not lose 5 years of contributions. You lose 5 years of compounding on every dollar that comes after it. The gap between starting now and starting in 5 years is not a small number. It's the kind of number that changes the retirement calculation entirely. The middle class was not taught to understand compounding. They were taught to understand monthly payments, credit card minimums, loan installments, car payments, subscription fees. The entire architecture of middle-class financial life is structured around monthly outflows to institutions that understand compounding deeply and profit from the fact that you do not. Investing is you turning that equation around, taking one monthly outflow and redirecting it toward an account that compounds in your direction for as long as you leave it alone. You do not need a financial advisor to do this. You do not need to understand derivatives. You do not need a high income or a perfect credit score or a debt-free balance sheet. You need a brokerage account, a low-cost index fund, an automatic monthly transfer, and the discipline to not touch it during the moment when everything in you says you should. That is the complete beginner strategy, not a simplified version of it, the whole thing. The people who build real wealth do not do it by being smarter than the market. They do it by starting before they're ready, automating before they feel confident, and staying in the structure long enough for the mathematics to work. The mathematics will work. The only variable is whether you are in the structure when it does. Start before you're ready. The market is not waiting for you to feel qualified, and every day it runs without you is a day of compounding that cannot be recovered. No matter how much you earn later, no matter how motivated you become, no matter how many videos you watch getting ready to begin, you are ready right now. Open the account, make the first transfer, set it to repeat. Everything after that is just time doing its job. Now, if you got something from this video and would not want to miss the next one, hit the subscribe button right now and I'll see you there.